And once Mark is done, I have some questions for you guys tonight. I hope that's okay. But if you do have something urgent that you want to chat about or a question that you have, please just stop me at any time and we'll get to that before I continue with my crazy thoughts. Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, Mark, did you say there was something new that popped up within the last week since you've been here?
Um, Not so much new, but I was thinking about some other options that may be helpful that I haven't said too much about.
Hmm.
I think on more than a couple occasions referenced the DSCR and, um, I've worked with other people recently where that's really been helpful. One was a little different and it was not just a regular single family or duplex, but it was a 6 unit property. And they were able to do it in that same way where, the lender didn't require, okay, we want to look at your taxes and your debt ratio and your income otherwise. But again, it just centered on the rents of the property. And so this guy was able to, he had a lot of equity in it. He was able to cash out and get a lot of out of it. It would also work for a purchase, um, but let me see here. We mentioned last time that there's these 40-year interest only products version of a DSCR available now. Um, and just looking over a couple of other ideas on what wanted to mention. So, you're also working with, well, let me back up a step because I don't know who's on now and if somebody's on for the first time, but so I'm representing a broker, and as a broker, this particular broker is national, so has the ability to lend throughout the country. And it turns out to be like the largest broker. So the value in that is there's a lot of loan sources. So because of the volume of sales, they've got literally hundreds of different lending sources. Um, and okay, so just rattling off some ideas. If someone maybe it's never utilized these, just some other ways besides that, and also other than a conventional type investment loan and the requirements for that. Um, so one of those would be a bank statement loan. Like I'm working with somebody now that's like self-employed, and when she tried to do this through her just regular means, it just wasn't working because the taxes were suggesting so many write-offs and things that the income didn't look so great. So through the bank statement, what they did instead was, and she's been self-employed for a pretty good stretch, and they looked at 12 months of bank statements and gave her recognition for an income level that made the loan work. Um, so just another way of, getting funding other than just the typical conventional loan and how that works, where they want to look at a couple years taxes and what's going on with your debt ratio and your income otherwise. Um, Another option is asset depletion, where it's like somebody maybe doesn't have the greatest cash flow, but it's got some serious assets, and they'll recognize a certain percentage of that and say, okay, yeah, you don't have the greatest monthly income, but these assets could be a means of them feeling secure as a lender and doing the loan. Um, Another option, I don't know if anybody on here is getting into this, but there's mixed use situations where, yeah, there's apartments, but there might be a commercial space. And so maybe there's a store at the bottom and there's two or three rental units on the top. So that's getting into more of a commercial type loan, but, we work with people like that as well. Something that I had a really, I don't know, I'd say fulfilling experience recently with a borrower it was a young couple, and they're just engaged. They're going to buy their first house. They're in their 20s. And instead of just the usual, let's get our first house, um, they they bought a triplex. And because they moved into one of the units, they were able to get it as their primary residence. And therefore, they also qualified for an FHA loan, which, you can't normally use if it's an investment property. But so they're moving in one unit. They got two renters already, and bought this place for it's like a $400,000 property. And another twist to it that's pretty interesting is there's a special grant program that it's not like typical down payment assistance for people where it's like a second mortgage, and if you move out too soon, you got to pay it back. It's truly a grant that there's no fine print and you don't have to pay it back. So in this example where it's an FHA loan, it covered that 3.5% down payment. So roughly $13,000 they didn't have to come up with. And so I know some investors go down that road, to move into a duplex or whatever and move out a couple years later, whatever. Um, but yeah, it was interesting to see them go to the point of a triplex. And most lenders don't get into that. I mean, they'll maybe do a duplex with an FHA, but not everybody wants to do a triplex. Uh, so yeah, just some food for thought, and I don't know, going to the less desirable extreme, but it's also a resource that we have if going down the hard money route, so there's that as well. But um, yeah, I just wanted to throw out a few ideas that maybe some have done some of these before, or maybe others maybe have never thought of a different way of getting the funding.
That's great. Thank you. If if you guys have any questions for Mark, he won't be here all night with us. So maybe just throw your hand up if you have questions for him. I did have a quick question, Mark, on the 6 unit that you mentioned. That was a cash out refi DSCR. In that case, or even if it's a purchase, what does it look like if all the units aren't rented out?
Um, so one of the calculations on the DSCR is the ratio of how much rent money's coming in versus what that monthly payment's going to be, the PI.
Mhm.
So they would still do it. Um, it just wouldn't be as attractive as when it's fully rented. And then they typically do comps on rent. Um, so sometimes it could be a little under, totally covering
Mhm.
what the mortgage payment's going to be. Um, and then the more that it's above that, all the better. Um, so yeah. Um, and there's scenarios where certain lenders would even do it without it being rented out. So they're doing like they've got an investor who's got a decent score, he doesn't have any credit issues. Um, and again, they're not looking at the rest of his story beyond that, but it looks like a good property. Um, Market rents in the area make sense, and they would still do it. So it can range from, yeah, totally unrented to less than what it's going to cover on the mortgage, um, to above what it's going to cover. And yeah, terms would vary with that.
Great, thanks. Let's see. So again, if you have any questions for Mark, if you don't mind putting your information in the chat. So Mark, like we mentioned over the last couple of weeks, he's a lender with Nexa Mortgage. So he has told us in the past also that because everybody's situation varies so much that it's kind of hard to give general information, but he welcomes a phone call to discuss your situation and get you the best options that he has available. So don't don't hesitate to call them if you have lending questions. Um, and
Yeah, and one thing, yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna say about my approach is like some guys who do this kind of work. I mean, it ranges from people in call centers or they work in an organization where there's like quotas and you get a certain financial benefit for every app you take, or you get a financial benefit for every credit pull you do. So I don't have that. It's just the bottom line on me with compensation is I get paid when the loan gets completed. So, um, the incentive is to do it well and to get it done quickly. Um, and yeah, so yeah, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I want to talk about this," it's like I'm not in a rush to take the app. I mean, if somebody's on a fast track, yeah, I mean, we can get it done quickly, but some of these loans, depending on the lender, can be they're not complicated and they get done quicker than average. But like I say, I try to walk through verbally, like in the conversation, to give a person a feel like this is what it's going to look like when you get disclosures and everything's in print, and so there's no surprises. But if you're not ready, that's fine, and we don't get involved in an app and running credit and all that. So yeah, I just put my email and phone number in the chat there. One other thing that related to that scenario was mentioned about the young couple and they bought a triplex and moved in one of the units. So yes, they get this grant money. It covers the FHA 3.5%. But um, this was not their story. But I believe with that particular lender, it's also an option to tap into the renovation loan. So theoretically, you know, the place needs $30,000, $40,000 in repairs or whatever, could be more. Um, if they qualify with, the income making sense of it, they could have that renovation expense added on to the loan. And yeah, just another way of sometimes not walking away from a deal.
You're muted, Frank.
good, because that didn't come out right the first time. So this time I'm going to just talk about Troy's question. He's asking Mark that 250K purchase price with 20% down and a 740 plus FICO. Do you have an idea about the rates?
Um, so I guess a couple questions I'd have on that one would be, what kind of property? Is it single family? Is it, duplex or what? That would be one thought. Um,
And maybe if he's asking conventional or DSCR.
yeah, so when you said 20% down, you're thinking conventional, but I don't want to assume anything because
Mhm.
um, if it's conventional, all that sounds good so far, but if it's conventional, then they're going to look at a couple of other key things on the checklist, which will be the debt. Even though that's a good score, they'll look at the debt ratio and the personal income. And if you got other properties, they're going to look at everything going on financially. If it's DSCR, um, let's say whether it's single family or duplex. Okay, so you said multi here on the chat. Um, And when you say multi, then because I started talking about triplex and quad, is it just simply a duplex? Because that could affect that as well. And are you thinking DSCR or conventional?
Sounds like he needs to give you a call. I think he was supposed to call you last week.
Okay. So, I mean, I could throw out something for thoughts. I mean, worst case, okay, so 2 to 4
I'm
years.
not.
Oh, you're there? Well, anyway, in the chat, yeah, I just put in 2 to 4 unit. So, so if it's conventional, then there's those couple other questions to determine what the outcome would be. And if it's DSCR, um, you know, that checklist is more streamlined. So, um, yeah, clear. I would say for openers, but we could go into the rest of the list to be exact with you, like like I say, without the formality of credit and everything else being pulled. But it's safe to say there could be rates in the sixes. Um, and depending on the rest of the story and whether it's conventional and DSCR. Another question actually is what state is it in? Because one of the options in many of the states is a prepayment penalty. Some people don't want to do this. Some are comfortable if that prepayment penalty is there for a couple years and it's going to drive the rate down. So let's just say best case scenario is, yeah, you went with a prepayment penalty and it's DSCR. Maybe it's somewhere in the lower six area, potentially. Because, yeah, there's obviously one of the things would be if it's DSCR, then how much rent is coming in. Um, yeah, so there's those couple other questions that I don't have that information from you, but best case is maybe somewhere in the lower six area versus not a couple other things don't check off as well, and maybe it pushes over seven, but another thing on that typical checklist is one investor says, no way, I'm not going to pay any points. And another one says, yeah, I'm in for the long term. I'm okay with that. So that can affect what rate we're talking about as well. The whole points thing or prepayment penalties could swing those rates a point or even a point and a half or so difference in, what's quoted. So I'd be, glad to talk with you, or we could even email with the rest of that information and be more specific with you on what it would look like in this example. Do you know what area Troy is in? What part of the country? Or oh, you're on mute again.
Sorry, I was coughing.
Oh, you got
He's
like
in.
a call screener going tonight or something, or somebody's
No,
opinionated and blocking you off there?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
Troy's in Oregon. He lives in Oregon, but he has investments in Kansas City.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's Missouri or Kansas, but
Yeah.
he's out
Yeah,
there.
that gets confusing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. We have a few new folks with us. Joe, I think this is your first time with us, and Iniana and Gilbert.
Yes,
Welcome, everybody.
thank you.
Yeah. So just a quick thing before I ask my question. Our format here is really informal. If you guys have any questions, just you can either raise your hand or just jump in if you have comments about anything anyone else is asking or saying, that's great. And you probably know already, there's people in here from all over the country and doing different types of investing. And then maybe in a little bit, if you guys are comfortable enough, we can ask you where you guys are and how long you've been at it, what you're investing in. But I just want to give you some questions to think about, and I'm going to try to get to everybody because this has been kind of a discussion that's been going around. So my first thing is, what is your why? And I know most of you have been coming to these meetings for the last couple of years, so I know your whys are strong enough, but I think that's like one of the most important things you need to have before you even get started, is a strong one, because when stuff starts happening, if it's not strong enough, you're going to end up falling out pretty early. And then kind of in the same realm is, why do you invest? Why do you think this is going to work for you? And by now you probably have some proof that it can work. But in the beginning, I know for us, it was pretty tough. We went through a lot of hard stuff, but we made it through. We're coming up on year 6. And my last thought for right now is it okay to take a break from the real estate stuff, instead of thinking about it 24/7? And I don't know that that thought doesn't probably enter people's heads maybe for the first few years while they're trying to get rolling, trying to maybe get their first property or their next property, whatever it might be. But right now I'm at a point where I could take a break from it. I think the only outside of that would be things like this meeting and trying to help other people. I wouldn't take a break from that. But as far as our personal portfolio, I'm okay sitting out for a while and just seeing how things go. So if any of that made sense, maybe I'll start with Nicole.
Feel like a student who just got caught not paying attention.
Let me run it down real quick. So what is your why? I know yours is probably strong enough just because of what we've seen from you in the past few weeks. What is your why? Why do you invest? Did you have someone who showed you the proof of what it could do for you? And is it ever okay to not think about real estate?
Um, yes, it is totally okay to not think about real estate. Everybody needs a break, and you hit burnout a lot faster if you don't take those mental breaks. Um, so yeah, totally okay to take those breaks and go on vacation. As long as, that vacation doesn't last months and months and months and deters you from your goals. Um, and then my why has kind of shifted and evolved a little bit since starting. When we first bought our house 4.5 years ago, I decided I really liked the whole buying process of real estate and learning about it. And so that's when I started getting more involved in wanting to do rentals. Um, and it was kind of just like a personal thing for me of like, oh, this is mine. Like I haven't had anything that's just mine for a long time. So this has kind of been like just mine. Um, but now my goals have shifted to really trying to build wealth for when my husband does retire, and trying to see if we can actually retire him early. versus, at 65. Um, and so, yeah, just really trying to, not let work get in the way of life.
And did you have someone that you knew that was doing it, that was an investor, or did you just pick it up?
A little bit of both. Um, my husband's uncle, he's been a longtime real estate investor and realtor. And so I know it worked nicely for him. And um, the rest of it I kind of just picked up mainly and just realized I really liked it.
Well, that's good. And has it all been perfect?
No,
No. Okay.
no, a lot of mistakes, a lot of learning lessons, but all none to wipe me out. So that's
Yeah,
been positive.
I think we're all fortunate in that respect. We're all still here.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. Um, I'm gonna go to how about you, Tom?
Well, let's see here. My why was pretty decent. It was basically, I don't want to work forever, and I'm willing to work a lot harder now to get a lot more free time later, which is the best part. And definitely seeing the fruits of my labor on that one. It's when I get checks every month at the beginning, it's pretty rad. So,
Yeah,
and then
I hear you.
that's my favorite part. My second favorite part, though, that is I have tenants that will call me to ask if I have another place for somebody that they know.
Mm.
That is awesome because that shows that I'm doing it right. They trust me and it's building a good relationship because it's the good tenants are asking that.
Mhm.
So, which is always really amazing. The one was they just had a baby and they wanted another place, wanted to find out if I had another house. So about 30 seconds after that, I'm scrolling through Zillow trying to figure out like, oh, let's see if I can find a spot for them. Like, so, which that one's maybe another story for later, but
Mhm.
those tenant interactions are definitely different because we don't speak the same language at all. So it's it's a little bit of a challenge, but it also I think it shows those tenants trust me and because they don't speak any language in the town they're in. They're the only Spanish speakers in a very, very white town.
So,
So I'm probably one of the few people they know there, and I don't even live in the same town. So that part's probably the second best, if not the first. But
yeah, I imagine that could be a really good feeling. That kind of proves that you are doing things right, and people notice that you're doing it right. That's awesome. Let's see. I'll pick on everybody who has their camera on. So Ray, you're next.
Yeah, yep, I'm here. So is this like the question is our why?
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-part. So yeah, what is your why? And like I said, many of you, I realize your whys are strong enough because you're here and you've been here, after years of doing it. So what is your why? And I think that could be different than why you invest. And then is it ever okay to take a break from real estate?
Yeah. My why is, I feel like when you don't have to do something for money, you can enjoy it a lot more, is my opinion, right? And I'm in a fortunate position where I enjoy my photo and video production company, but I think I would enjoy it even more if I didn't have to make money off it, right? Not that I wouldn't want to, but I think more love would come out of it. And that's kind of why I do it, right? I want to be able to enjoy my craft even more by by doing it just for the love of it. And then the other part to your question, whether can you take a break? I feel everybody has their own pace, right? I felt like the last 3 years I've been going super hard, and now it's okay to come up for air and kind of look around and see where you're at, you know? And I feel that's healthy. I think that is how most investors should do things so they don't get burnt out. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, thanks. I think there was some discussion in the last week or so about, like Coach Carson talks about, the plateaus, right? And enjoying enjoying the journey along the way. Sometimes that, at least for me, it seems like it might be confusing. Like if you take a break, you might lose momentum or something like that. But after you've been at it for a little while, I think you can gauge it better to know, it'll still be there when I come back. Or, I think Alex Dutter had commented a while back about the fact that he was doing his uh, working on a refinance and stuff, and while he was doing it, deals just went by. But oh, there he is. But yeah, there's still going to be deals out there, and the longer we're in it, the easier it's going to be for us to create deals too. So it doesn't always have to be the conventional way once we get rolling.
Frank,
So,
could I just give a shout out to my buddy Gilbert here for
oh yeah,
joining the ORAC community and making it down. Hey Gilbert, just wanted to say hi.
What's up? How you doing?
hey Gilbert. I don't know if you realize it or not, Gilbert, but Ray just made you next. So maybe you could tell us where you're at and what you invest in and how long you've been doing it first.
Well, I am complete newbie. I haven't invested into anything, but I want to. And my living proof is Ray, because we met playing one of my favorite games. We met in the gaming community for StarCraft 2. And it kind of just started on a whim where we were all in the same group chat and we were talking about life, and then suddenly topics of economics and finances came into play, and that's when Ray chimed in on, on the situation, and he talked about, financial freedom, doing it through real estate. And I've always wanted to do something to invest in. I dived into crypto a little bit here and there. I looked into stocks and bonds and uh, you know dividends, but when Ray talked about real estate and how um, going through the right avenues and the steps, it's not that it's easy, but it's a simple process to comprehend, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of he told me a lot about how to get involved, and my why is a few things. One, kind of like what the other gentleman said, I think he was talking about how he doesn't want to work for the rest of his life. I'm totally with that. I want to retire early, at least by 50. I'm 37 right now, or I'll be 37 next month. I'm practically 37 already. And I want to secure my future, not just for myself, but, one of these days, maybe in 10 years, or hopefully, shorter than that, I'll have a family. And I want to secure my future and their future as well for that. And another big part of it is that the stuff that you see behind me, this is my studio, really, my music studio. I've always believed, ever since I was 14, that my purpose in life is to bring people together with, through music, through my music. And, I think doing real estate and, going through the motions, not trying to go too quickly, just being patient, I really think it'll pay off in the long run, and it'll help me really fulfill that calling that I've had since I was 14. And so that is really, those are my whys, how I got into it, or how I got into the interest of it. I Right now I'm at my first goal, which is looking for at least three mortgage lenders to talk to see who I like the most. So that's my first step. And Ray helped me kind of put together a plan on how to go about those first steps. And shout out to Ray, because we talked for about 40 minutes to an hour a couple of days ago, and he really encouraged me to get more involved with this community. And I think it's going to be the best decision that I've ever made in my life. I really believe that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And you guys mentioned, a couple of you mentioned whys, and I think Nicole, how your why has shifted. And I think that probably happens for a lot of us, right? Because I know mine did in the beginning. My original reason for, well, needing to invest was because I didn't have any retirement savings, right? And I was scared. Um, I was 57. I'm 61 now, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. But since then, it shifted to helping get my wife retired. So that's even more important. I'll work as long as I need to work if I can get her retired. So that transition, I mean, they're still very strong reasons. So it didn't slow us down at all. But I think that's
I think,
natural.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think whys can fluctuate and grow with you as you grow as an investor. Um, Nothing's ever stagnant, and we know if we're stagnant, we're moving backwards. So
Do you think it would ever make you lazy? Like, just say, I don't know, somebody is doing it to be able to retire early, and then they realize it is going to help them retire early, so they take their foot off the gas.
yeah, people, yeah, that could definitely happen. It kind of depends on people's personality, whether you have more of a procrastinator personality, and then you're like, oh, now I got to catch up and try to shove like 2 years into 1 year of type thing. Like, oh, I was supposed to do a deal a year or a deal every other year, and I didn't do that. So now I got to get 2 deals in 1 year or in a year and a half to make up for that. And so I could see that happening, but I think if people um stay with keep talking to other investors and keep trying to just grow their knowledge, they'll keep that desire to keep moving forward.
Yeah, great points. Troy, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna present to the group, and I think I've asked this question similarly before, in probably not in the same way, but I'm not gonna be at the conference coming up. But as for the rest of you guys, do you have any goals when you go to the conference? I know I did last year, and I had them written down as what my plan was, what my objectives were, and how I was going to meet them. So the broader question is, are you guys just going for simple pleasure, or do you guys actually have objectives going to the conference?
I was going to beat my buddy Troy.
Yeah, sorry guys, I won't be there. I wish I could come and see you guys, but I'll be in LA instead.
Can you share your cheat sheet with the class?
Well, last year, okay, I'll just be brief. Last year, my main goal was to simply network with as many people that I could to broaden my group of investors in terms of, branching out for maybe potential private money lenders, access to other private money lenders, access to just someone who's been in the game longer than I have been, and something I could learn from, other owners that I could learn a great deal from. Secondly, reaching out to them in terms of just like saying, hey, I got this problem, have you run in this before? Like, what did you do to handle it? And then thirdly is take away as much knowledge as possible from the people that were presenting and ask them as many questions as I could. And fourthly was to meet Matt Hawkins, pick his brain, kind of meet him face to face, and try to just network with him to learn as much as I can from him, as well as Mike, Millennial Mike, and Zuber, and meet, all the other people that I've become good friends with.
I'll add my thoughts, Troy. You and I talked a little bit about this, but just I'll make mine nice and short and sweet. My goal is to enrich my life with like-minded people, right? And it's not about the person I'm talking to that's getting hundreds and hundreds of doors. I want to know what's their reason for gaining financial freedom. And I want to resonate, with their goals, whether it's to spend time with their family or just have time with their spouses or whatever, because that's what honestly motivates me as an individual is understanding why people are doing real estate to be financially free. Um, and I don't know, that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. And as I travel across the country, I want to be able to stop by and meet these people that I genuinely like being around. And yeah, that's my overall goal, to gain more new friends that are like-minded individuals.
My goal is
I
to
would,
talk you and Gilbert into making Mark a new intro.
I
You have to
was
talk to
going to
Gilbert.
meet Troy, but looks like that ain't gonna happen.
Hey, I'll be in your neck of the woods on Sunday. You can come and meet me.
That's right. I will be available on Sunday.
I might have to have you come and meet me though. I'll be stuck at the fairgrounds.
No problem at all. I'll plan
Awesome.
for it, actually.
Awesome.
Well, since I spoke up being sarcastic, um, my why is because I'm tired of working for other people. I don't want anybody else to control my time. Um, so it's really that time freedom that people talk about. Um, but me, they talk about time freedom, but really it's real freedom. Like I don't want anybody in charge of me or my schedule or what I do. I don't want a judge in charge of me, right? Like who's in charge of me? I don't At home, nobody's in charge of me. The way I want to live my life. When I go to work and I have a boss that I have a good boss, but let's say he disagrees with me on something, based on the hierarchy of the way that place works. Um, he could be completely wrong about something or whatever, but I'm subject to my boss. I'm subject to my coworkers. I'm subject to the hours that they need me to work. And I'm tired of being subject to other people. So I'd like to be in control of that. Frank, you also asked about taking a break. And I can relate to that. I'm not really taking a break, but I can really relate to what you're talking about. Every waking moment since I found out these real estate communities exist, um, I've prioritized it over everything else I have. I mean, all the, just everything. I paid for NFL Sunday tickets so I could watch every football game for my team, but I only watch 4 games all year. And that's a good thing. I'm bragging about that. I'm not sitting here scrolling on my phone to no end anymore. I'm putting up YouTube videos with all of, everybody talking in the background. Um, so as far as taking a break, um, I think you need to reframe it. If I know this is unsolicited advice, but I call it savings timeout, you know, but you are not taking a break, you're repositioning. You save some money, you get your systems dialed in, you work on this thing, this project that you've been putting off or whatever, but you set yourself up to be able to make the next move.
I can
And
barely
that
see you.
next
Oh, he's picking
and
his
that
daughter up.
Yeah, that next that so what was I saying? Oh yeah, you're setting yourself up for the next move. And that's important too. And I've been hustling so I can you know, um I'm kind of repositioning in savings timeout, but I'm not. But I'm trying to take it easy for the next little while now. Instead of trying to force everything, I'm going to sit here and watch the market. I'm going to do my daily due diligence and I'm going to be seeing what's out there and I'm not going to buy anything that's not a good deal. So I'm waiting for the right thing to come along. I'm not going to be out, trying to door knock or do anything like that. I'm just going to, continue to optimize my position right now or actually stabilize right now, and then optimize some details and then go from there.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
want to
that's a good
say,
take on it.
I just want to say just real quick, okay? I got to hang out with Alex and check out his properties, okay? He's downplaying. This guy, he's a go-getter. You know what I'm saying? I see the properties that he's got and what he's up to, and I just want to applaud you, Alex. It's been really cool to see what you're up to and what you're doing, man.
Well, thanks. I got about 5 years to go in me, and then I hope to be able to relax a little.
That'd be nice. Let's see. Ashley, are you still there?
I am, but I am out and about, and I think it will be very noisy.
Oh, okay. We'll keep going. Um, let me check in. So is it Finiana?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Do you mind chatting for a minute, letting us know
Sure.
where you're at, what you invest in, and how long you've been doing it?
So I previously used to invest in Washington, D.C. I owned about 6 properties in DC. Um, However, I currently do not own any properties in DC, and I am now in Baltimore City, which is about an hour, there are plus or minus away. And currently in Baltimore, I only have 2 properties in Baltimore City. So all of that to say that I'm just coming back in the game, and my method is the go slow, buy and hold approach. I am a W-2 employee, and so that is the summary.
Well, that's great. Do you mind if I ask,
Oh,
you had 6 properties and you're starting again. Why did that happen?
Um, DC is so hard as a landlord in terms of the law. I think they have the reputation of being the most tenant friendly in the entire United States. It's
Okay.
and they brag about that. It's rough. Um, um, it just kind of like liquidated over a period of like 2, 3 years. So it's not all at one time. And then I took a break, and then I'm just like, I think I'm ready to get back in the game.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So all of and so much so that get back in the game and absolutely purchase, 1 or 2 this year. Um so yeah. Mhm.
Great. And thinking about the questions that I asked earlier, what is your why? Why do you want to do it? And
Um so I'll say this, I'm already at a point of my life where I'm happy with the life that I live.
mhm,
So I just kind of want to plan for retirement a little bit, a little bit more intentionally. And that's pretty much my story. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. And so it's at this point just me.
okay, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Mhm.
Did you
Uh,
pivot out of rentals for something else, or was it just to um, take a break?
Yeah, I would say it was more take a break. Yeah, I took a break, but I did travel a lot. So I did enjoy spending some money, having some having my passport stamped a few times.
Cool.
Sorry about earlier, Frank.
Oh,
I
that's
was in
okay.
transit.
Are you back?
I'm backish, but I might have to dip out kind of soon. But I think I have a short and sweet version. Um, Basically, I'm in an industry that's really volatile, and there's a lot of security, kind of even when times are good. So already kind of growing up in early childhood with like financial instability, I didn't want that for my adulthood. So basically, kind of as soon as I got educated financially, I realized really quickly that I had to make a plan, and real estate just seems like a really good tool for this phase of my life. So that's pretty much it. And then I have people in my family that have done real estate, but the way they've done real estate is very kind of like mom and pop style, like no reserves, um, getting burnt out really quickly because they try to do everything really fast, being like so overworked that they can't really take a moment and assess their assets and plan for the future and things like that. So when I started realizing that there's a whole community that really treats it as like a business and, has a way of setting everything up so that it's sustainable and reproducible among people in different markets with different lives, with different incomes, um, that was a game changer.
Awesome. I think, yeah, some of what you just said, I think I've been thinking over the last few weeks that, well, to me, the two biggest things that you need when you get started is your why and then reserves. You know, uh, the reserves, uh, I don't know if you guys have any different thoughts, but I think if you don't have those in the beginning, it's going to knock you out pretty quick.
I think you need operating expenses. I don't know if that's the right term, but reserves are for the things that go wrong that you don't plan for. So you don't want to be accessing your reserves right off the bat. You want to have an operating budget before you need a cushion before your reserves.
I think, well, I think when I think of reserves, I think about what you just said because stuff is going to happen and you can plan all your operations as much as you want. But if you don't have reserves, that doesn't even matter.
I'm gonna have to agree with you, Frank. Like, fortunately with my real estate investing, I started with roommates. So the things that kind of went wrong, they weren't as big because it wasn't like a whole family was living in my house. It was just, a roommate.
Mhm.
But I think those are the things I learned the hard way that you definitely have to have those reserves. And it's something that I definitely swear by now when I'm doing my real estate investing.
Yeah, I think, and again, that's just my opinion, and it's probably was shaped because of what we went through, right? And I've shared with you guys how much we had in reserves and burned through it all and then some. And so I guess it hit us hard, so that's why it's stamped on my forehead now. But let's see. I was going to ask, there was Joe Burns. Is he still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hi, Joe. This
Oh, I
is
think
your,
you said Gilbert.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought you said Gilbert. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
oh no, that's okay. Um, is Joe still here? I don't see him. Let's see. And there was Tamika. Are you able to chat?
I am. Hello to everyone.
Hi, it's great to meet you. I've been chatting with you back and forth, and I appreciate your comments in school. Um, so we were just going around, and since this is your first time with us here, maybe you could let us know where you're at and what you invest in and how long you've been doing it.
Sure. So I'm very new to school, but I'm not new to the community. I started listening to Michael during the pandemic a little over 5 years ago, and I live in the great state of Alaska. And I invest out of state, primarily in South Carolina and North Carolina, only because our market was super expensive and we had family roots in the Carolinas. My why, essentially, for my husband and I, we are W-2 employees, high wage earners, but we wanted to leave a legacy for our children. He and I both grew up in New York City. I'm from the Bronx. He's from Queens. We grew up in tenement housing, I guess you can say. And we just wanted to expand our, financial future so that work could truly be optional. I think that I view this current process a little differently. I'm not necessarily planning to retire soon. I'm only 50, but my job is my partner in this real estate journey. And I think we've been able to shorten the runway to success because we've utilized our employment income in that way. So right now we have 4 single family rentals in North Carolina, 3 single families in South Carolina. And then we did a lot of house hacking here in Alaska. So we have 4 total, 1 being a fourplex, 1 being a duplex. So I feel like we're doing okay. Um, but being a part of communities like this and talking to you guys, it just makes you press the gas. And I just feel like every year I need to be bringing online 1 or 2 more if possible, until I get to that number where I feel like, the grandbabies, they've got enough trust fund. You notice I skipped over the children. And once we get there, I think I'll feel better. But I don't want to be massive. I'm more of the Coach Carson kind of person, small and mighty. But I do have a number in mind. And I think when I hit the 2025-ish range, I probably will go into paying off mode and just reap the benefit from there.
That sounds like a solid plan. I think there are a few people out there that we've heard talking about that, and I think Coach Carson specifically. Were you, forgive me if I'm not remembering correctly, but were you the one talking about sub 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you were at last year's event, my husband, Fred, also was one of the speakers. He was the mental health guy.
Okay. We didn't get to go last year. We went year 1, but yeah, and that's why I brought up pace, I think. And everybody's supposed to take questions after they speak. So maybe, like Troy was saying, you could come with your list of questions for him specifically.
Yes.
Awesome. And I can't wait to meet you there too.
It'll be a pleasure, Frank. Thank you.
Let's see, who else have we? Charles.
Yes, sir.
Did we get to your why yet?
My why is pretty much because I had to. As I look back on life, I realize that my great grandpa and my grandpa both worked for themselves for their entire life, never had a job for anybody else. And rentals, whether it be farm or housing, has just been part of what's there. And what I thought was going to be retention of a farm did not happen. I chose easier for my sister instead of picking a fight. And all of a sudden, I had more houses than I needed. Knowing that we had rentals growing up, it didn't intimidate me outside the drama and the contracts. So that was what I went to last year for, was how to figure that out. And through Matt's boot camp and listening to all you guys, I've learned how to put a shock absorber between my temper and which, because I just can't deal with, I can't deal with the drama, and my customer. So For all of you that are wondering, is real estate worth it? My great grandpa had to start making decisions in 1921, which was the year that my grandpa was born. They never really left a farm. They never lived extravagant. They were just poor dirt farmers. But I will be the fourth generation that retires as a millionaire. Not just from inheritance, but from what I create. And even with Illinois taxes, this is just what happens. And I choose to use my kids and stepkids' dreams as the bait for them to learn how to serve tenants. And because pretty much I've got everything I needed. And as a side note, last weekend, Carrie bought her first airplane. Not helicopter, airplane.
Gotta start somewhere.
Congratulations, Charles. I was about to ask if it was a helicopter, that if she got the jump on you instead of you getting one for your wife.
I 44% off of asking.
Are you landing it in Las Vegas?
I am not taking it to Las Vegas. No, I'm not. I am flying commercial, and there's no way.
I was hoping for a free ride.
Well, we can go for a ride, but it won't be free, and it probably won't be me flying it. There's flight instructors out there that do an awesome job, and that's a busy airspace. So, and Miss Ledbetter, I do love Alaska. We've been up there several. We flew to Alaska for a 3-day fly-in, just a long weekend. It's yeah. I enjoy Alaska a lot.
Nice.
And I enjoyed meeting you last convention, which was my first.
I love
taking a break, Frank.
Yeah.
Every time you pick up a piece of real estate, every time you pick up anything, it's a rock. You got to be able to hold it, and sometimes you got to let somebody else hold it for a while. That's just how this looks like. It's you're not on top of the hill every time. You don't have the greatest attitude. If you can't make it 40 years doing this, if you don't have that long-minded mindset, it just makes it more difficult when you try to break it down. Sometimes you made a decision last year that you've got to prune or like this ain't working. This just ain't working. I'm not telling myself that way. But if you put too much into it and you stay too close to the flame, you're going to get burned. You'll burn out. However this works. This is a Coach Carson. Actually, it's Alex Ramosi. Everybody here talks about, especially Dion, loan to value. Alex talks about his customers as lifetime value. Each one of your properties produces a lifetime value.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. I think for a lot of people that we talk to each week, it's not easy to consider slowing down. And it probably wouldn't have been easy for me either, but after going through what we went through, I don't really have a choice. So, if you can't think about buying anything for quite some time, then everything does calm down naturally after you have your tantrum and you can't buy anymore. Then
you can't buy the way you've been buying. It doesn't mean you can't help. And oftentimes through helping, you'll find the next deal. You'll find your next customer.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, slowing down on real estate is one thing, but I don't imagine ever slowing down when it comes to wanting to help other people. So that will definitely keep going. And I just want to say real quick, before we get too close to closing time, I appreciate and am really getting a lot out of all of your answers, and hopefully we can continue this again. But if anybody has anything pressing that they need to chat about, definitely throw it in here.
And Dr. Ledbetter, my wife needs to finish her PhD.
She should definitely do that.
Yes.
And you're going to make
So,
sure she has that extra time, right?
have you met my wife? She says things like, "You can't tell Charles what pair of pants to wear, but you can tell Charles what pair of pants to wear." And I'm like, what sort of, how does that make any sense? But to a special ed teacher, she's got ways.
Let's see. I'll address Mark's comment here. So we do have a few of the gray ORAT shirts still left. If we don't sell them all before Vegas, I'll be bringing what I have left to Vegas. And I think most of you know we're selling those to donate the proceeds to the Blind Center. Last year we were able to donate 500. I think we'll be able to do the same this year, especially if we sell the rest of them. So if you guys are interested, you can just get a hold of me. We have a few of each size left. You know, Mark keeps talking about black ones, but I don't think those are coming.
Oh, drab and black.
I might have to chat with Zuber about that when we see him. Jack. His why is simple. Watching his dad cry on 2 separate birthdays because he couldn't afford your cake or an ice cream cone, or having to leave high school for a year working at 2 different restaurants and a lawn care business just to make ends meet, or the fact that I had to watch all my grandparents die in nursing homes. That's why I don't want to watch myself die. That's okay about the language, Jack. Yeah, I think, I mentioned my age. I'm older than a lot of you. And when you do get to like this point, I think everything starts hitting harder, right? Like Dion says, I don't want my son to have to take care of me, when I can't take care of myself. So that's part of our reason for wanting to do this. Dion also talks about not leaving legacy money. In our case, we will leave whatever we have to him, but he's been part of the journey, so he'll know how to run it, and he'll know if he should sell it or not, or if he'll carry it on and have a better life because of it. Let's see. James, are you still there? James Dugan?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Frank?
Hi, it's good to see you. Maybe
Let me turn video on. Hang on. Sorry. I'm doing some of my real estate admin while I'm joining the group chat. I'm going through, and I asked a question to the group a little while ago, and I'm curious whether anybody else has done this. I'm getting a virtual mailing address set up because I'm due to close on my next house hack next month, and it's a nice point to force the whole idea of trying to channel everything for me and my LLC into the same spot, and it not being tied to a physical address that I own. Plus, it also just helps get a few things off the tax records. That it's very easy to stalk me and work out what my portfolio is, and if things go to plan, that portfolio is going to get bigger, and I'd like to take a little bit of the bullseye off my back.
I haven't heard of a virtual address. I've heard of the Google phone numbers.
So same principle, and I've used one for a company that I've owned in the UK for many years. And as long as you're not expecting any mail except from the tax office or something like that, then they work perfectly. I would not recommend it if you are naturally expecting a lot of intended correspondence. So yes, they will get rid of junk mail, but if you're expecting lots of things that you need to interact with, then maybe think twice. But in my case, I'm not expecting stuff. If something comes in the mail, I hopefully already know about it through some other means beforehand. So
I wanted to add, James, I use a Buffalo registered agent for my Wyoming LLC that I did a subject to on, and I
right.
hold that in a trust. So, for me, I feel good about using those services, and they also help me with mails that I do get, and my name is nowhere attached. So I personally use it, and it works great.
That makes sense, and the fact you mentioned Wyoming means that you're already clearly going down the path of anonymity
Yep.
and asset protection. For those that don't know, Wyoming is renowned for allowing you to create an LLC where you don't have to disclose the ownership of the LLC. So, in other words, the Wyoming LLC will be the parent of your structure, and everything comes out from underneath that. And that way, in Ray's case, nobody knows who owns all of his empire.
I'm gonna share. This is the services that I use. This is like so much easier because I don't have to, they'll do all my renewing and all that stuff. I pay like a certain fee. I think it's somewhere around like 160 every year or whatever, and they'll do all the filings for me and stuff like that. So this is the one I end up using, and they've been working great.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's asking about though. So James, did you look at that
Yeah, I'm
Opus?
looking. I think what you're describing is kind of the next step up, Ray, in terms of a registered agent as it relates to an LLC. I'm so yes, I will also need to do that, and I also have that, but I'm talking about the more basic, bare bones, just where's my mail go to. And now I'm actually going through and telling USPS to get on board as well. There's a form you have to fill out to get them to do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so like, did
what
you
you
look
described
at
is
that
correct.
Opus virtual that I sent that one time?
Sorry, say that again, Mark.
Did you look at that Opus virtual?
I did, and I actually found because I asked the question on school and a couple other places, and I Postal One seemed to be the name that kept coming up the most.
That's another. Yeah, that's
Is
another
that the
one
one
too.
you sent?
No, but I've used them too. So they're all similar.
Yep.
But yeah, so you use their mail address, and then sometimes they have the feature where they'll scan the mail into and then they send it to you through email. They have the virtual phone numbers. Yeah. So yeah, there's different ones, but most of mine is through Anderson Advisors though. But that's why any mail gets sent there and then they scan it into my box folder and it gets
Gotcha.
uploaded into the cloud and they send me an email notifying me I got documents to look at. Only thing though, some of the bills get sent, they notify you kind of late sometimes. So it's better to have auto pay on a lot of the stuff, but so a lot of the bills it comes a couple weeks after it's due a lot of times. But
that's not good.
Yeah, but yeah, there's different features, but yeah, it's helpful. I mean, I wouldn't spend too much money on. I mean, there's some that are very pricey. So
yeah, I don't need anything fancy. If it starts becoming apparent, because it's all been coming to my house for the last 12 months, so I've got a bit of a feel for the flow of what's coming in. You mentioned Anderson. I'm assuming they're the tax guys.
yeah, so I don't use them for the tax anymore. I use the main bean counters, but Anderson used to handle all my stuff, so
Gotcha.
kind of a ripoff. I wouldn't go through them again. And the quality of service has gone down a lot since I think they outsource a lot of things now. But um yeah, and then they
Yeah.
try to sell you everything, right? So
I often wonder with some of these services, there's like an underlying wholesaler to all of these, because if you look at the address that they give you, the addresses, they seem to kind of correlate with not just one virtual service, but multiple. And I've seen that with registered agents in particular, that they all seem to have the same in Texas. They all seem to suspiciously have the same address in Austin. Um, so, Frank, I've gone wildly off topic, which I don't even know what the topic was. So if you don't mind just taking me back to what you want me to talk about, and I'll say something useful.
Yeah, no, that's totally okay. I'm glad you got some information that you're asking about. I had no idea, and I kind of thought it might not be legal to get a virtual address.
No, it totally is. Yes, I'm trying to think where it would be illegal. There's probably issues around what you have sent to a mail address for sure. I wouldn't get your drug delivery through the virtual address if that's what you're kind of intimating.
yeah, so
Okay,
I know.
Frank, do you remember
now
Lisa
I know.
Song Sutton that spoke? Oh no, she was year two, I think. Do you remember Lisa Sutton? She's the one, she was like a lawyer and then she did the cupcake business. But that's kind of like her what she does now, right? Her business is that OMG, that mailbox service. So
Okay, I
they have that
remember
whole
that.
mailbox. Yeah, they have that whole virtual mailbox type thing set up where it's almost like using that main address as people's business addresses because it's like a lot of times you can't put like a PO box right on your documents and things like that. So you need like an actual physical address. So people use like that address, but like maybe box one, box two, box three,
Oh,
and
I
then
see.
A
people
lot
pay
of
like a month.
full-time
Yeah,
RVers use it also
yeah.
because in some of the RV groups that I've followed, that's what people are full-time in their RV and traveling around the country or whatever, or like Dion, you're out of the country and you just need your mail collected. You don't want to have to worry about your kids getting it or your neighbor or something like that, and they get it and you can access it online.
Yeah,
Really
it makes so much sense for so many reasons.
And then I think they have like so you can have like a virtual number, and then probably when someone calls in, there's an extension, and when they punch that in, then it probably pulls up whose account this is. So whoever like the voice, it says, "Oh, this business, right?" So whoever is like, they'll just say, "This is so and so's business," and then leave a message. And then if you get a message to that number, then you get a notification, like an email saying, "Hey, you have a voice message to check," and then it might be a message from someone like a utility company or something or whatever.
Okay.
I already punt those people to Google Voice. I'm ahead on that one, but some of the others I'm playing catch up. Um, so, Frank, I apologize for the second time. What's the question that you wanted me to answer?
Oh yeah, no problem. We were just going through everyone's whys because I think, like we talked earlier, your why and reserves are the most important things in my opinion. And if you don't have a strong why, it could knock you out of the game sooner than you want. And so your why is maybe tied to why you invest in real estate. And then the third part was, is it okay to take a break from thinking about real estate?
I'll give the short answer to the third question first. Absolutely, especially if it's important to your mental health or your relationship with the people around you. So my why is I kind of want to borrow lumberjack landlord's expression uh, that my aspiration is to have donkey choking amounts of money. I kind of like the visceral nature of that expression. I think he got it from Austin Powers, the second one, where Fat Bastard said something about something was enough to choke a donkey. I'm assuming that's where he got the quote from. Uh, so, but realistically, I want to be able to retire from the corporate life by 50. So that's 4 years and change from now, or at least have the optionality for me and my wife if she chooses to as well, which I appreciate is a very ambitious goal. but I think at least getting the optionality, that means that we maybe are not free, but we're at least a little, we can do the, I don't quite like the idea of barista fire, but the notion that you effectively can take some significant step downs in terms of W2 or some relaxed conditions uh, is what I'm aiming for. So it gives us options. And because neither she or I come from the US, and we don't both come from the same country. She's from Canada. I'll say Australia for simplicity. Uh, Therefore, we're going to perpetually be needing to travel to go see family and friends and so on. So that always needs to be factored into a budget, not just beans and rice, but actual plane tickets. So how do we make sure that that fits into the grand picture? At this stage, we don't have kids. Who knows what will happen in an intervening couple of years? But the presumption is a status quo. I will probably need to revisit a couple of things if that changes, and I'm sure the parents amongst the group will nod profusely. And that is my why: is I want the freedom for us to be able to confidently do things. And for what it's worth, and this is hugely important for those of you that are in a regular job. When you don't need the job, you are actually so much better at the job because you know you don't need it and you've got the confidence. It's like I can tell them to fuck off at any point in time. So you have to consciously, you choose to be there as opposed to you're obligated to be there. That is a hell of a difference.
Yeah, I
And
can.
I hope for all of you that are still working that you get to that stage because it will feel very good.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky because I love what I do, but my body doesn't love it anymore. And you were mentioning, so it sounds like you have a length of runway that seems a little bit short. How long have you been investing?
I've been investing probably 2 years, and at the risk of being indelicate, I kind of came out swinging. So I already have 2 duplexes and 2 quadplexes, and I'm about to buy another duplex as my next house hack. So I've gone hard early. Everything cash flows. I do rent by the room, so I feel all kinds of comfortable about how that helps me protect my downsides.
And
Is that a pad split?
That's the one. In fact, I'm actually in the process right now of slowly transitioning away from pad split, similar to what Jared's been doing. The only difference between his and my strategies, two differences, is number one, he is using large houses with sort of 8 tenants per house, whereas I've kept to I think the biggest in any one house is 4. So I'm keeping the numbers lower because, again, quadplexes and duplexes, I don't need to go big because I've already gone wide. And the only other difference is he is moving towards trying to get long-term tenants, but still buy room. Whereas I'm happy to keep, rather than the pad split week by week, I want to go to month by month, which is starting to get more into the normal realms of what the rest of the world is used to, but it still is co-living.
And maybe we'll close with this one. Has it all been easy?
Hell no.
No.
And it won't be easy in the future either, but that's not why we do it. Remember that there's that great banner that I've seen recently is we don't do it because it's easy, but because we thought it was easy.
That's a good way to think of it. And I think one of the things that's really special about all of you guys in this group is that you're willing to share that it's not easy. And I always fear trying to help someone get into the game and they hear all this stuff we've gone through and it turns them away. You know, I know it would attract the right people who I guess kind of have the guts for this kind of stuff. But that was kind of maybe not a real conflict, but kind of in my head, it was a little bit of a conflict when I do any videos or anything trying to explain, what we've gone through, and people
I
just
would rather have them turn away than not take care of the people that that they're expected to take care of.
Yeah. And like Dion said in class the other night, when he was asking about, you know, if you're talking to a doubter, what would you say to them to help them understand why we do it? But I think in the first few seconds you can understand if they are a doubter, and I wouldn't even bother wasting my breath trying to, like they say, we're not in the convincing business, right? You can just explain why you do it. And if it sounds appealing to them and they have the nerve, then welcome them in. So there was a lot of folks we didn't get to this evening, but if you guys feel like continuing it next Wednesday, or we'll probably come up with some more crazy questions for y'all, but I appreciate you indulging me.
I like
I
your
think it's
questions of the
good that we
day. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's good that we revisit that every now and then to make sure that we're continuing on.
Yeah, I think you're right, because one of the other thoughts is, I would still consider Cynthia and myself newbie investors, but
Same.
after 5 years, you kind of forget what it was like in the beginning, right? So I started a series of videos just with that question being the most important, right? Your why, and trying to remember all the things we went through recently is kind of hard. I have to dig to remember the pain, but and the good stuff too. There has been a lot of good, but yeah, and that became evident with a lot of the what I would call the big guys, right? BP and even Zuber. For a while he wasn't coming back down to our level, and I think that's where he needed to come to help a lot of us out.
What type of animals, Christina?
Hey, no, it just sounds
Like
almost kind of like a childhood fantasy, but I was like, well, I'll just open up a sanctuary and rescue a bunch of animals and, you know, we'll all have popcorn in front of the fireplace and watch movies together.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to see you're back in the saddle, like trying to be like, I'm gonna go get some more. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
This thing is so emotional sometimes.
It is, yeah. But I mean, it comes down to just taking care of your family, taking care of
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah, and one step at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have this Morgan Freeman quality voice. I don't know what it is, but you have this
Thank
confidence.
you.
I love listening to your voice because it's soothing.
You could get a job being a audiobook narrator.
Come on.
Thank
No.
you. Thank you so much. It's yeah. The reality of all this for me is I really feel stupid because I wasted so much time, because like I was showed the example, I was taught all the little sayings, bought right, half sold. If you paid, you shouldn't have put so much in one. You should have um, split it up, and the risk factors, and it's these same arguments that I heard stories of my grandpa discussing in the late 40s and early 50s. And I just feel like I didn't pay enough attention and didn't think that I could or would ever actually do it. And I feel like I'm sitting here with like, just keep going. It's okay. Sometimes you make missteps. Take care of people. There's people. There's problem properties. Just keep going. This keeps stacking. It doesn't exactly stack the same for everybody, but this stacks, and you will be fine. Pay attention to the basics.
Yeah,
Yeah, one foot another. Yeah.
Yeah. Beard filter, Tom? Did you mean this is well earned gray right here?
I think you got a beard filter on because every time you put your hand near it, it disappears.
Oh,
Your main
that,
beard stays, but the filter goes away every now and then.
that's my background trying to,
Uh,
yeah, it doesn't play good sometimes.
might want to look at that when you're playing around on your computer. I'm pretty sure it's right on there.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to watch the recording and see what's going on, but thanks for
This is
that.
exactly what type of buddy I got, Mark. He sent me a text so you all wouldn't be able to enjoy this. But he said, after the compliment you all gave me over my voice, he says, it's a nice way of saying face for radio.
You're in
Yeah,
good company.
only he would think of something like that. And he's hiding. But anyway, thank you all. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you so much. I appreciate all of your thoughts and comments, and hopefully it helped.
Good night, everybody.
Good
All
night.
right, thanks, folks.
Thank you,
Talk
Frank.
soon.
Good night.
Good night, Frank. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Everybody.